Hi, welcome to Evidence for Faith. It's your host, Michael Lane. I want to tell you a little story. Years ago, on my first visit to Jerusalem, I was walking around on my own in the Jewish quarter of the city. At one point, I paused by the short ledge to take a rest in the hot June sun. It was very hot. As I was standing there, just leaning against this low ledge, I turned around and I looked behind me. And down below was an ancient wall, a very broad, wide wall, but you could see it was an ancient wall. I stood there studying this ancient wall, and I noticed something very, very strange about it. Let me take you to Jerusalem and show you this. Now, it's been changed slightly from when I was first there, but even so, you'll be able to see what is described in the Bible, and today is known as the broad wall of Hezekiah.
We are standing in Jerusalem, right here in Jerusalem, in the middle of the old city and part of what is called the Jewish quarter. And what we're looking at here, right behind me, there is some white plastic bags and stuff, but this is actually a very historic site. Archaeologists found what's underneath here is a wall. I apologize that this is covered right now, but they're obviously doing some renovations and they're cleaning things up and expanding this archaeological site. But this is Hezekiah's broad wall, is what it's often called. And Hezekiah was one of the kings, of course, of Judah. And when he lived, the Assyrians were the major threat. They had just conquered in 722 the northern kingdom. Shalmaneser III and Sargon II came over, and they conquered the northern kingdom, and Hezekiah knew that the Assyrians were going to come after him too. So he starts to fortify, the scriptures tell us, fortify the city. One of the things that he did was to expand walls, and one of them is this actual wall right here. Now, you might be saying, well, Michael, there's walls all over Jerusalem and stuff. How do you know that this is the thing? Well, first of all, there's something very unique about this wall. For one, you can see how wide it is. It's a very wide wall, and it was very tall. Over on the side up here, if you see, it says the estimated height of the wall. So this thing is very tall, and it goes down to the bottom, down below. And down at the bottom is where this really gets interesting, because this wall, as wide as it is, and it's very wide as you can see, thus it's called the broad wall, has very, very large stones, as they usually did, on the outside, and then smaller ones on the inside. But the unique thing has to do with what Isaiah tells us in the scripture concerning this wall. In Isaiah chapter 22, verse 10, we read that Hezekiah, it says, "You counted the houses of Jerusalem, and you broke down the houses to build the wall." Now, this is talking about King Hezekiah making new walls and bigger walls to defend. You see, the Assyrians had developed the battering ram, and it became an expert piece of siege equipment for them. So over to the west of here is the city of Lachish, which they bashed down with battering rams. But Hezekiah knows this, so he starts to fortify this city and other cities, but this one in particular, his capital, to make sure it's going to be able to withstand the Assyrian onslaught. So he orders, this is where it gets cool, he orders the people living in a certain section of the city of Jerusalem to vacate their houses, and he uses the stones from these houses to make the wall larger and to build this wall. And down at the very bottom, down below, there are, the ground is still exposed down here at the very bottom. And if you watch carefully, if you look, and there's some still pictures we can put in this, showing that there are houses sitting at an angle to a wall like thus. You can see how the angle of the house, a 90-degree angle, part of the house goes this way, part this way, but the wall goes right into the middle of the house. So what he has done is he has actually, right in this area, people were living here. When Hezekiah orders them to vacate and they start to build this massive wall here. And this wall would never be tested by the Assyrians. The Assyrians did not conquer this city. In 2 Kings chapter 18 and 19, you can read, they never conquered Jerusalem. They conquered the other cities around, but not Jerusalem. But it did not withstand the Babylonians when they came. To show you how massive this wall is, as they have fixed up this Jewish quarter, you can see, if you look here on the pavement, some of the stone. Many tourists just walk right over this without realizing what it is. This here marks the boundary of the broad wall, as it does back over here also. You can see this is a broad wall, how big this is. And it's marked by this different color tile here going that direction. And right now, there's a building right here, so we can't walk any further that way. But that gives you an idea of how big this broad wall was. So this wall is a fascinating piece of history, and not only does it end there, after the Babylonians destroyed Jerusalem, tore down the walls, in the book of Nehemiah comes back from Babylon and starts to rebuild the walls. And there are sections on this. I wish I could show you because it's right now covered, but there are sections in here that show there's 2 time periods here of building this wall. And it does say in Nehemiah chapter 3:8, it says they restored Jerusalem as far as the broad wall. Can you get any more specific than that? So that is exactly what we're seeing here. This is part of it, and it goes underneath where I'm standing here and further over and connects into another section. But another piece of evidence showing that what we read in the Bible is actually true.
Hey, thanks for joining us on our little trip to Jerusalem to see Hezekiah's broad wall. There are more lessons coming up that'll be placed on our website that'll be showing you some of the archaeological evidence from the Bible. But thanks for joining us today. And until we meet again, take care and may God bless.
Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to our donors who make this program possible. Evidence for Faith is a 501c3 nonprofit ministry based in the USA. You can support this broadcast by donating online using the links in the description, and don't forget to leave us a comment, a review, likes, and shares to feed the algorithm and help others find this content. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.